Hello, everyone. This is Troy Merritt here. Just to kind of give those of you that are not familiar who I am, just a little bit of brief scenario. I'm a retired Sergeant First Class from the United States Army. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs. I work in the mental health field as a peer support specialist. Currently trying to finish up my graduate degree to be a licensed clinician down the road as a licensed clinical social worker is what my eventual goal will be. And I'm going to school at Texas State University. The purpose of this video is basically to discuss gastric sleeve surgery. I went through gastric sleeve surgery on December 6th, 2020. Just to kind of give you a brief synopsis, when I left the military, I was weighing right around 225 pounds in 2013. As of Thanksgiving Day, the morning of Thanksgiving Day 2020, I weighed myself at 360 pounds. So I was 360 pounds. So I had gained approximately 130 some odd pounds after the time I had retired from the military in the matter of about 6 years. What led me to this journey to consider getting gastric sleeve? Well, I'll give you a brief history. My father, he's retired Army himself. He was a drill sergeant, very active guy, played college football at SMU. He retired from the military. He ended up gaining a ton of weight. Our family, the Merritt family, we just love to eat. Food has been something that we just enjoy doing. Anytime I think back at family events, it was always surrounded with food. We always were doing something, and food was the center focus of all of it. So that's what my memories kind of come back to. So I lived a very active lifestyle as a kid growing up. I was a three-sport athlete in high school. Played football, did wrestling and track. I wrestled pretty much varsity for I think 3.5 years at a 160-pound weight class. So I did relatively well in wrestling. I wrestled for the Army for a little while. I was able to maintain my weight, but I was also burning a tremendous amount of calories because I had a very active lifestyle. You know, I was running anywhere between 10 to 15 miles a week. I was weight training every day. I did PT 5 days a week. At the tail end of the military, Major Sonic, which was my I think, should I say, Colonel Sonic, that is. She's actually my former commander. She ended up sending me to the combatives instructor course to basically teach people how to be jiu-jitsu, basically train our soldiers and stuff in jiu-jitsu. So I was pretty active for quite some time. But my career field was computer systems. So my career field was pretty, it didn't require a tremendous amount of physical activity. We did our PT for the military, but other than that, that was it. Whereas guys that were infantry guys, those guys are rucking all the time. They have a very, very physical lifestyle. Mine was a very sedentary lifestyle. Going back to my father, as I was telling you, he died here July 2nd, 2020. And the complications were pretty much from a lot of his weight. He'd probably weighed, I'm guessing, close to 400 pounds. I don't know exactly what his weight was, but that's what I estimate. He was bedbound for approximately the last 5 years. He couldn't even leave his room. It was a very eye-opening experience my last 5 years when I would go to visit him. There was a couple times where he had to be evacuated, and they would have 2 ambulances, and it would take 6 to 7 people to get him removed from the house, to get him out, to get him to the hospital. And all of this because his weight was just so out of control. And it used to make me very, very sad to see my father in that shape, but that's the way it was. He was diabetic. His weight was affecting every aspect of his life. And as the years went on, he would talk to me a little bit about my weight. He said, "Good Lord, you're gaining a lot of weight, Troy." And, I just kind of I don't know, I just didn't want to face it. And now that I've gotten into the mental health field, as much as I hated to admit it, there was no difference between me and, say, somebody that was a meth addict or a heroin addict or somebody that was in pot. The difference was I used food as my comfort. Some people use marijuana, drugs, alcohol to comfort them. For me, my comfort was food. Anytime I was depressed, anytime I just was dealing with stress, depression, whatever it may be, I turned to food. Food always made me feel good. And I mean, the science even shows that when people are eating food, especially if it's got sugar in it, the transmitters that go up to the brain, it ignites the exact same receptors in the brain as, say, a hit of cocaine. There's really not much of a difference in how it actually affects the brain. So ultimately, I became a food addict. And that was pretty hard to even accept. I mean, whoever thinks a food addict, but that's the reality. But the difference is when you become an addict to food, unlike drugs, you have to have food to live, to survive. So imagine, if you would, telling somebody that was a cocaine addict that they have to minimize the amount of cocaine they have for the rest of their life. They don't have to do that. When they get off of cocaine, they get off of it. They don't ever have to go back to it. If they never use cocaine ever again in their life, it won't kill them. Somebody that's a food addict, on the other hand, you have to eat. If you don't eat, you'll die. I mean, that's just a given. So it's a very difficult situation for those of us that struggle with food addiction. So for any of you out there that have struggled with food addiction or have family members that have, I'm here to tell you it's a real thing. So we joke about it at times in society. We poke fun at people that have gained weight. I know I did, and I got to be honest with you. When I was younger, I poked fun at folks that had gained a lot of weight. And I wouldn't say verbally out loud, but in my head I definitely did. And then here I am. I'm one of those people that people are making fun of. Look at that guy. He hasn't missed too many meals, has he? I mean, that kind of thing. It was just, it's kind of weird how karma kind of comes back and gets us, smacks us in the back of the head. But my food addiction just got out of control. So I had to do something about it. I talked about it with my dad. I mentioned to him about doing bariatric surgery. And he said, Troy, I don't give a rat's ass what you got to do. You need to do what you got to do to get your weight under control. You don't want to live this kind of life of being bedbound. This is just not what you want. And there was a couple moments that had happened that really kind of were profound for me. One, I'll never forget. I went to Knott's Berry Farm, which was a place in California, a place that my sister and I used to go to when we were kids. It's an amusement park, and I took my son and my wife there, and we had a blast. But they have a lot of roller coasters. First roller coaster I went on, I couldn't even go on it. The belt wouldn't even get halfway around my stomach. There was one roller coaster out of the entire park that I could ride, out of like 10 roller coasters. I couldn't ride anything. I had to wait till my wife and my son got off the rides. I mean, it was extremely embarrassing when the people had to tell me, sir, you got to leave. You're too big for this ride. There's that. Then later on, I used to love riding horses when I was younger. I used to work with horses back when I lived on the farm in Illinois. We had a guy down the road that had me take care of his horses, so I used to ride horses a little bit. And I now work with veterans in equine therapy. Well, I can't even ride the horses now. I'm too big. We went to New Mexico, my wife and my son, and we went and we decided to go horseback riding up into the mountains there. And the guy had to go out and get a draft horse for me to ride because I'm too goddamn big. So, my wife and my son are riding quarter horses, and here I am with a freaking Budweiser horse because that's the only thing big enough to haul my fat ass up the mountain. So, I poke a little fun here, and maybe some of y'all laugh, but that's the way it was. I mean, it's embarrassing, but that's what I had to do. I had to get a big ass draft horse to carry my ass around the damn mountains and stuff. So it was starting to affect me. I'm also a hunter. I enjoy hunting, and hunting is an active lifestyle. Well, it got to a point when I started hunting ducks and stuff. It's probably one of the more labor-intensive hunting activities, and because you're carrying 80 pounds of ducks and lead weights and everything. I just stopped duck hunting because it was just too much. I just couldn't hardly breathe. It's too much for me to carry. Um, I ended up changing my hunting. I ended up changing my life. I don't hike anymore. I didn't do a lot of the things I used to do. And a lot of it's just because it was uncomfortable for me to do. So all of those things kind of culminated into a point where it's like, you know what, I got to change my life. I can't fit into the clothes I used to like. I used to love wearing really nice clothes. I can't wear a lot of the nice clothes I used to wear anymore. Now I got to go to these big and tall man shops. You pay 5 times the amount for a shirt and a pair of pants that I did when I was half the weight. And it's just embarrassing. It causes pain in my feet. I was having problems with my plantar fasciitis, my knees, my hips. I just had to do something about my weight. So I decided to go ahead and do this bariatric surgery. I've got about 5 or 6 friends that have had it done. I've talked to them. Every last one of them told me that the only regret they have is not doing it sooner. Now, I will tell you that I had my surgery done on December 6th. My weight prior to surgery was 360 pounds. The 2 weeks prior to surgery is basically a liquid diet. You're on a liquid diet, no carbs, no bread. They want you to minimize that because they want to get some of the fat off of your liver before they actually go in and start working on you. When they do work on you, it's about 5 incisions. The surgery takes approximately about an hour, at least it did for me. And I reported to the hospital about 8, 9 o'clock, and I was out by 3 p.m. and my wife was picking me up. Usually you do an overnight to 2-night stay, but because of the COVID situation, the doctor made the decision that it was going to be kind of an outpatient type of deal. And then 2 weeks after that, I went and saw Dr. Atchison, my doctor, just to give you an idea. His name is Dr. Eric Atchison. The guy is awesome. He's a really great doc. He's out here in Austin at the Capital Bariatric Surgeons Group. Anyways, he's a retired military guy himself. He's served in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he just loves taking care of vets. And when he heard I was a vet, he's just been a great guy. When I go in there and talk to him, sometimes we forget about what the appointment's about and just talk about the military stuff. It's just ridiculous. He was telling my wife the other day about how it was in Afghanistan when he was doing surgery on a dirt floor in Afghanistan. So, when you've gone through situations like that, been deployed and seen life in a third world country, and then you come back to the United States, you really realize how fortunate and how lucky and how blessed we are here in this country. So when I come across people like Dr. Atchison, it's just that there's just an automatic connection that you have with vets because you've been there, you've seen the worst that life can chuck at you. Anyways, going back to the surgery, like I said, I've struggled with my food addiction for some time. Depression, this, that, and the other. I turned to food. Decided to do this bariatric surgery. Was a little scared about it. I'll be honest with you. I was very scared about it. I almost backed out of it. Probably about 3 times I was really considering backing out of it. Prior to the surgery, I had a lot of friends that were telling me, why don't you just change what you eat? Why don't you just work out more? The reality was I've done that. I was paying a personal trainer $600 a month to help get my ass into shape. And I did that for over a year while I was working for an IT company. I was paying approximately $500 to $600 for an individual trainer, and I didn't lose any of the weight that I've lost so far in this last month with this surgery. And I was working my ass off. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't working out, it was the fact that I just couldn't control my freaking eating. So over time, I've come to realize that it's not the matter of working out and that sort of thing. For me, I'll work out. I love working out. For me, it was my intake of food and what I choose to eat. I have to have something that's a tool that will not allow me to eat more than what I need to eat so that I can lose the weight I need to lose. So Dr. Eric Atchison told me that prior to the surgery, he says, our stomach is approximately the size of a football, or at least mine is. He said when the surgery is done, it's probably going to be a little bit bigger than maybe a golf ball. So that's a pretty drastic reduction in the size of your stomach and what you can take in. The biggest thing that he said was going to make the biggest impact for me was that when he cuts out part of that stomach and seals it up, that part of your stomach contains all of your hormones that produces the transmitters and the signals to the brain that you're hungry. So you'll have a lot of food in you and you're still hungry. So you're constantly taking in more food, even though you only need to take in so many calories per day. Your brain keeps saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. So I would keep doing that because that's what I felt. I always felt hungry. No matter what I did, I always felt hungry. But after the surgery, and I could go 2 or 3 days without eating, it wouldn't even faze me. I don't have that burning desire to want to eat now. If I smell something, smells good, I'll have a taste, this, that, and the other, and that's about it. I really don't need to have a full-fledged meal to be satisfied. Now, if I eat 2 eggs, I'm good to go. I just have 2 eggs, 2 scrambled eggs, and I'm good till lunchtime. So, whereas before, for breakfast, I'd go to Cracker Barrel and I'd have a stack of pancakes, some spiced apples, a big thing of hash browns, some grits, some biscuits. When it was all said and done, I probably ate 2,000 calories worth of food. And even still, I was hungry sometimes. It was ridiculous. It was out of control. So this has actually helped me gain control of my eating. And I have gone from 360 pounds, I'm 317 pounds now, and I'm continuously losing weight. Say every couple days I'm seeing another pound or 2 pounds down. So the doc told me that if everything continues the way it is, I'll probably get down to about 200 pounds within the next year. So we'll see. I'm going to start working out here in probably this next week or so. I'm still healing from the surgery. Like I said, there's 5 incisions. They're real small. They're no wider than, say, a dime. But now let's talk about some of the negative aspects of the surgery. One negative aspect that I've experienced personally is I get a lot of burps sometimes after I get done eating, if I eat. And I also get some acid reflux. That ends up bothering me quite a bit. I didn't have that before, and now I have a little bit of that. So, but if you take like Prilosec or Pepcid or something like that, that helps. Dr. Ashton told me that should eventually go down here within the next month or 2, but because my system has changed, my stomach's still getting kind of used to the size it is. I need to eat slower than I typically do. But a lot of things have changed. I cannot eat sugar the way I used to. Your body will not allow you to process the sugar the way you did before. If you grab a Hershey's candy bar and you decide to take a bite out of that, I'm not going to be graphic for y'all, but this is what happens. Your body has a thing called dumping syndrome. So your body will essentially eliminate that. It'll hit the stomach and immediately it drops it into the small intestine and it wants to eliminate it right away. So your body cannot take in sugar the way it used to before and process it. So I steer clear of sugar. So if I'm drinking anything, I steer clear of sugar. I don't drink carbonated drinks. I'm drinking some teas, Gatorade, water, that sort of thing, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So, but like I said, the gastric sleeve surgery has worked so far pretty well for me. It's a personal decision. Hopefully, if you decide to go down that route, that you have good luck with it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But like I said, for me, the last month, I've gone from 360 pounds to 317 pounds. So my wife now is giving me the look. She's just...
in the kitchen.
Yeah, so she's going into the kitchen. So I'm going to have to cut this off shortly. But anyways, just wanted to tell, if any of you guys have any questions about bariatric surgery, feel free to ask me. I know I had a ton of questions, but feel free to reach out to me if you want to shoot me a text. 254-392-3253. Feel free to reach out to me. Take care. Bye.